The Human Founder Podcast by Gali Bloch-Liran.
Hi, I'm Gali Bloch-Liran and welcome to The Human Founder, the podcast where we speak about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Entrepreneurs and investors often describe the emotional roller coaster that is embedded in being entrepreneur investor, where you experience the lowest of lows when your daughter is in the hospital due to diabetics, and at the same time, the highest of highs when your portfolio companies have an exit and a huge round, and you have to bury it all in exactly the same time. And it's from that place of uncertainty, the need to constantly self manage ourselves, keep up our energy, and be mentally resilient in order to deal with everything. Well, it's not easy. In each episode, I will be talking to entrepreneurs, investors, psychologists, being their sounding board, with the goal of creating a space for this less spoken about layer, which is the mental aspect accompanying the entrepreneurial journey. I will also share tips and tricks to help boost your focus, clarity, and mental resilience. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Danny Cohen, Daniel Cohen, but everyone calls you Danny, so
Hi,
hi.
great to be here.
It's really great to have you here with me. Danny, you're a general partner at Viola Ventures, specializing in consumer internet, e-commerce, and cybersecurity. You serve on the board of various companies like Lightrix, X.co, Hyperguest, Philcommerce, and more. You began your career as a developer and product manager, and prior to joining Viola, you spent 11 years at Gemini Israel Ventures. You're a graduate of the Kaufman Fellow Program, and we'll talk about it, and have a BA in computer science and psychology from Tel Aviv University and an MBA from INSEAD, which was one of the most amazing years you had in your life, and we'll dive deep into it.
Absolutely.
So again, it's really great to have you here with me, and I wanted take take advantage of our conversation and really dive deep into what it means to be an investor for more than 20 years and the way that the mental aspects are actually coming into your activity and the way that you see the founders, the way that you are as an investor yourself. How do you combine between, personal life and professional lives, and what it all has to do with the, mental aspects and psychology. Maybe let's start with you've been for so many years in one venture capital, in one VC, and then after you changed into another. So I want to take you back in time to this point where you understand that you're now living a very big VC in Israel. And what happens, and how do you continue to the next one and this transition?
Wow. Right to the most important and difficult points. I thought we'll start with, childhood, your parents. I love my parents. That was great. No, we're right into it. Okay.
We have to give value, right? Like we
Exactly.
should.
And
Have to
fast value,
yeah,
right? There's
yeah.
no time.
No, what I like the most is like, make this jumps in times, because we're being very associative, and then one thing, takes us to another direction. So
You're doing great.
we'll
No
press
problem at
with
all.
it.
It's interesting because I think, on one hand, it's a job. You have a job in one firm and you leave to another firm, right? And I can talk a little bit about that part, which is, um, it's the same job, but of course, very different cultures and very different organizations. And it takes a minute to leave your previous way of doing things and kind of adapt to the new way of doing things. Uh, I want to highlight two things that were kind of interesting for me or not easy. One, 11 years into Gemini, with the minute, at the point in time I left, I was one of the most long time standing people in the company. I knew I was in the room when every live portfolio company was invested in. I was part of that decision because, the ones that before that were gone already and through the 11 years. So I knew every portfolio company. I was, one of the senior guys, right? And then suddenly in one change, you're the most junior guy. You don't know anything about the company, anything about the culture, anything about the portfolio. So kind of moving from
The new guy.
the new guy to the old. Now, look at this. 10 years have passed. Now I'm already the old guy again, right?
But it's a beautiful thing to understand that in life, sometimes we're the oldest, guy in the group and the smartest and the most experienced one, and the next moment we're the new guy or the new girl, and it's important to remember it that sometimes it's like that and sometimes it's like that, and it helps, circulate it in a better way to not be overwhelmed when you're the new guy and not be too comfortable when you're the old guy, because you have to remember this dance. So how this being the the oldest guy in the room and the most experienced one brought you as the new guy to Viola?
Yes. So I totally agree. I think there's a moment there when you come in as the new guy. There's a window where you still look at things a little bit in a different way, or you have a different angle on things, and it takes about a year where you're just another one of you merge, you melt, you're one of that one organization. That period is really important because you see things and your ability to change things really happens then. After 5 years, you're the organization. You don't change anything anymore, right? And I think I was able to make some changes in Viola at that point that I think were helpful and was good in the company. Not everything. I also think Viola changed me, and I think in some way, a year or two later, I became a better investor than what I was when I was in Gemini. But I want to highlight one more thing. Um, I said it's you leave a job and you go to a new job. The thing is, when I left Gemini, I was sitting on 7 boards. 7 boards. These are 7 companies where you're part of that company as well. I joke, people say, how do you do one job at the same time? I don't do one job. I have, at every point in time, I have 10 jobs, right? For every company that I'm on the board of. Basically, it's a part-time job in a company. And I left in one day. I left not only Gemini, but I left 7 portfolio companies. And that was a little bit like leaving 7 kids. That was really, really hard. And you know that you will come to a new place and you'll find new kids or new companies. And yeah, here I am again, 10 years later, I have a whole bunch of companies, and that moment is gone. But kind of leaving all those 8 kind of, if you will, kids, that was an easy moment.
I'm really happy that you shared it, and I want to dive deeper a little bit because I always work with entrepreneurs that I coach that if they were in the situation of closing a company and prior to establishing a new one, or if it already happened, how important it is to digest and to understand what happened, and sometimes even the trauma, but like everything that was there, the emotions, the relationships, what could be possible, what couldn't be possible, in order to continue in a much healthier and productive way. And I want to put a spotlight on you as an investor because sometimes it's really easy to look just at the founders. It's very difficult to them and a complex journey, and it's a heck of a roller coaster, etc. But on the other side, there are also the investors, and I'm talking to you. I'm talking to many investors, and many of you, and I don't like generalizations, but you're flesh and blood like everyone else. You have your own feelings, your own emotions, family at home, things that you're dealing with. And it's really important for me to bring this angle into this conversation as well because 2 things. First, it makes you very human as investors, as plural. And the second, I think it also helps to the founders to look at you also like them as human beings and to be less afraid of what they see, to be more direct in the way that they approach, to create a language that is more synchronized one with each other. So how you as investor digest the fact that you're now, breaking up, leaving 7 companies, 7 teams, 7 CEOs. It's really something that is part of you. It's like something is missing now.
Um, I, First of all, it's hard. All, that breakup happens a lot of times. It happens even when you exit a company. So, you sell a company. It was great. You invested. You were with the seed, the A round. Company grew. Now there's an exit, and you're off the board. And there's a party, and you raise a glass of champagne. It's all great. It's still a breakup. You used to be on the board of that company, and you're not anymore. I tell that to entrepreneurs because I think for them it's a big deal. They get the money, but they lose something. But we get the money and we lose something. Needless to say, when it happens all at once and you leave 7 companies at once and in different stages, different points, of course, that I think makes it 7 times more difficult. And you're right. I think as the investor, you need to look at what you feel, right? I'm leaving now, but you also at the same time need to look at the entrepreneur and what are they experiencing in that point in time, right? What does that mean for them that they suddenly get a new board member, somebody else is stepping in inside of them? What does that mean? So it's there are a lot of things involved in that change.
So after you left Gemini and before joining Viola, did you take some time off, some period to yourself to dive deeper with
Yeah.
yourself to, recalibrate where you want to do, where you want to go, what do you want to do, like we like to do with founders also to have this, break in time so they can, clean the container and then later on
Yeah.
go for it again.
You ask great questions, and it's like we know each other for years, and we don't, and it's amazing. So I took 6 months off. I basically had to, so it was contract wise. So I had a cooling period, so I needed to take 6 months off. Two things I want to say. One, after 4.5 months, I couldn't take it anymore, so I cut the 6 months off. I actually regret that. I think I should have taken the whole 6 months, but I was so anxious to go back into the game.
In retrospective, you
Yeah, but
regret it.
I was
Yeah.
what? I was 43, 42. I don't know. I really wanted to get back into the game. That's one. And I think I didn't make. I don't remember those 6 months as something very like I did something amazing or something that. It was just kind of I was waiting for this to end and this to begin. One thing though, I do remember kind of my thought. The Gemini and Viola were basically in Herzliya in two buildings, both 11th floor. So Gemini was building A, and Viola still is building D. So basically, the move was to take the box of stuff, go down the elevator, walk 50 steps, go up the elevator. That's it. And in my mind, I said, when I move, I will take only the good parts of Danny and leave the bad parts behind. And when I arrive in the new building, it'll be Danny 2.0, only the good things. I really remember that. And I joked that the minute I sat in the new office, guess who appeared right next to me?
Oh, the old Danny.
Yeah, all the bad stuff too, right? And it was, and it's important because you want that change to be a turning point, to be something a little bit different. Change alone is not enough.
How naive it is to sometimes think that just a point of time or some kind of cut will help us to change from A to B. But between A to B, we learn it in algebra, right? Or geometry. Or between A to B, there's a line, and line means a process, right? It takes time. You have to choose. You have to make choices. You need to see what you
Absolutely.
bring inside, what you take out, and also it's very beautiful to see 10 years afterwards or 11 years in retrospective to see how you look today with the fresh eyes on what happened back then. So you joined Viola, and you are how many partners and investors there?
Right now we're six.
Six in Viola Ventures.
Yeah. So Viola has basically a few activities. We have Viola Growth, Viola FinTech, Viola Credit, and Viola Ventures, which is the early stage, also the longest standing activity. We're now in Fund 6, $260 million. And as I said, six partners, Shlomo and Avi, who are the founders of the entire Viola, but they spend their day-to-day in Viola Ventures. So Shlomo, Avi, myself, and then Omri, Tzvika, a little bit younger, and our newest partner, Yael, which is the youngest.
So that's great. And so this is like six right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
six.
six. But you're also part of a bigger group on investors. And needless to say that the venture capital in Israel and in the world as a general is like very competitive market. It's very competitive. I think that the personality of the or some aspects of the personality of the people who are part of it has something very competitive within them. It's, we want to make the best investment. We want to bring the best portfolio company. We want to make the best deal after we brought the best company. So there's something which also requires from you as investors to be very sharp, to be very adequate, to be very like hunters, to know to find the right
Absolutely.
companies, like to have very good senses, very good analytical senses. A lot of things that also requires from you as investors to be in peak performance and to know how to perform your job very good. And like startups and founders, they feel this competition from their competitors, and like we always like to see in the deck, the slide of the competition, right? And to understand exactly the unique value proposition that each one of the competitors has. So the same goes to the investors. So how do you now, in retrospective of 20 years in this world, um, what can you say about the relationships that there are between different ventures and sorry, different VCs and different investors, and how well you're cooperating versus how each one is like really want to make his own biggest ROI, etc. What's going on there in the politics and dynamics between investors?
Wow. I told Gali that I have time till evening. So no problem. You asked, we'll go all the way to the evening on that one. Uh,
The highlights.
the highlights. So first of all, people ask me, do I miss being in operations? And I said, what do you mean? I am in operations. I run a venture capital firm, right, with my partners. And as you said, we have customers, we have products, and we have competitors. Uh, like many industries, a lot of the competitors, especially in Israel, they're my friends. Some of them are my best friends. I know them really well. We sit on the board together. We used to be in the same firm together. So these people I know really, really well. Yet at the same time, you compete with them, right? So on a specific deal, you sometimes stand really with a friend that you know really well. He wants the deal, you want the deal, and how do you make it win? Um, I don't like losing things. I fight for those deals. At the end, after 20 years, I really think that you win based on who you are and by highlighting your strengths and not by just bad mouthing the competition. So I really try hard not. We're human, right? I don't think we do it 100% of the time. I really try hard not to say, well, how can you go with that person where clearly he's whatever, fill in the blanks, but really highlight, what does it mean to be with us and what is our strength and what differentiator and what wins. And hopefully that is good enough to make, and your reputation is good enough that people will go with you.
You see, you made it quite short. You made it.
Yeah, I kind of skipped nicely over the point of what
But
is
you
the
don't wanna
political
get it.
situation and what,
You said something. You said to bring who you are and to make them see who you are. So before we started recording, we had a small chat about your philosophy as an investor, and I want to take this direction now of who you are as when you look at companies, when you look at startup founders and startups in the early stage. What are the things and measurements that helps you or that helps you to when you see a company or a founder to know that it's a good play, that to know that it's a good move to make and to invest in this company, and maybe we'll use some examples, and what happens if in the first round or the first startup company of this founder it didn't succeed, for example, but then later on you see him or her in another startup in another direction and it's a huge success. So how do you learn from it to fine tune and to invest in the right founders, in the right DNA?
yeah, a lot of things there. So, in general, kind of what is venture capital in 15 seconds? Find great people that go after great markets. Really easy. By the way, this is why I hate VC
Can I
panels.
quote you?
Yeah, no, because why I hate VC panels because you put VCs on panels and people ask them, how do you find good investments? And they say, well, we go after big teams and great markets. Okay, that was easy. Uh, the reality, I used to think that what is more important, the market or the team? I used to think that it's the team, right? Great teams will figure it out. Today, I think a lot of it is a combination. And actually, I even lend more to great markets. I think great markets can help people become better at what they do. So I think a great market and an okay team will do way better than a great team and an okay market. Okay.
I see your smile. Watch your smiling.
Well, I smile because
No, I'm going to say that I'm not
that you don't
necessarily
agree.
with you.
Yeah, because the common thought is that great entrepreneurs can move to a different market or can pivot, and that's probably true. And again, it's not. These are hard. It's always a combination, right? I have seen, as you said, I've seen uh, people that did companies that were really unsuccessful. That investors said, "Don't touch them." I had personally a very known, which we won't name, CEO in one of the most successful right now startups in Israel. Two examples actually come to mind, right? And where they failed in the first startup, it was very clear, oh my God, this is not a great person to back. And the second startup was just not an okay success, it was an unbelievable success. So what happened? Same person, he learned a little bit, when he went after a much, much better market, or his timing was way better. So Warren Buffett said, he said that when great teams meet shitty markets, I think the market will always prevail. Meaning, at the end of the day, markets make great companies, not the opposite. And when I look back at my mistakes, yes, sometimes it was people, but most of the times was just I missed the market completely.
I totally agree that we need to find the right opportunity in the right market and to find the right product market fit that will help us, grow the product and the company. But I think that also a great leader and a great founder, if he's great and he thinks or she thinks about the best interest, she has the best interest of the company at heart. So if she or he will feel that they are no longer the right person to lead in this market, then they will step away, will stay maybe as founders, but will allow some other person to be the CEO or something like that. I mean, I think that once you have the best interest of the company at heart and that you're evolved enough and with the growth mindset, which is sustainable and strong, and you really help it, let it lead you, that's what makes you a great leader that can lead a company. Because to say that it's the market, yeah, it's always true. It's always true. But the question is, what can you learn from it? You know?
Look, first of all, you're right. Absolutely. You know, uh, through the years, we have a lot of conversations about teams, right? You sit in an investor meeting and you talk about the team. And you say, oh, great team, or great founder, or no, not great founder. Like all people, except the two of us, right? We're perfect. But all the other people, the rest of the world.
People in the other room.
Exactly. There are pros and cons, right? And the reality, it's a multidimensional thing. And as I said, I think it's very hard to say, oh my God, that's a great entrepreneur and everything is great about him. Usually there's some aspects that are great and some aspects that are not. It's his co-founders and how they build. So I think it's really complicated to say what is a great team and what is not. And I really think that specifically investors tend to overscore the outcome. So they say, oh, that was a great outcome. That's a great team. Hold a second. Maybe it was not a great team, but the outcome was they just went after that perfect market. And what happened? There's one thing I want to say about entrepreneurs, and we talked a little bit about that as well before the recording. I think one of the key dimensions to seeing entrepreneurs, unrelated to school or background or success or did they go to 8200 or not, is the level of hunger and what's driving that hunger. And if you can identify that, if you can see that, if you can say, oh my God, there's something to prove there, or there's some hole there that needs to be filled. A lot of time, if you see that, that's a big driver for success, and that's a great indication of how things will turn out.
So if I can reflect on it, something personal that you just shared before, that a precious woman told you that you don't have enough hunger, right? We spoke about it earlier.
Yeah.
So maybe an interpretation of it can be um, hunger does not necessarily derive from bad situation. It can be one thing that leads to it, but hunger can also derive from a passion, a big passion for things. And it sounds to me that reflecting on what you said, that what you're doing today and the place that you are today and the level of influence that you have on the founders that you work with is a really great element in your life that really helps you to be very hungry and passionate about what you do.
Yeah. First of all, that's a great point. Look, I love my job, right? It's a great job. Actually, it's the best job in the world, right? I mean, I've been thinking about it. It really is the best job in the world. And when you think about it, I'll tell you exactly why. I do whatever I want, meaning I run my own schedule. I can go do a podcast when I want. I can not do a podcast when I want. I meet the smartest people. I work in the best industries. I don't know if hunger is the word. One thing for sure is you still need to be curious. You still need to be to open your eyes and kind of look at the world and be excited of where the world is and where the world is going. Right. In the 20 years, I think of the things we invested in when I started at Gemini, and the things we invest in today, oh my God, I mean, what, completely two different worlds, right? Where the world is going. So, um, I, absolutely, as long as you're curious and you're willing to fight for it, I think there's a chance in this game, and I'm still in this game for sure.
Yeah, I like that you entered the curiosity into the equation, because really this is something that keeps us very alive and interested, and we walk in the world and always is like opportunities and what can lead to what. Because there are really so many innovation, so much innovation, and so many new things, and so many new technologies, and new things that we're not even aware of. So really walking in this path, and I think that one of the most important mindsets, both for founders and for investors, is really to be curious, because curiosity is also something that helps us learn a lot from our mistakes and from the failures that we have, because we don't just look at it as, oh, I failed. It's like I'm being curious about what happened, what can I learn from it, what are the lessons that I'm taking with me to the next, the continue of my journey. And like being with this curiosity mindset is really something that helps evolve as human beings, as investors, as entrepreneurs, and as managers.
I um I totally agree. Agree with that.
Take us to one of the most exciting years of your life.
Yeah. So well, a lot of great years. I want to go back 30 no tw- 25 years ago, 24 years ago. I went to do my MBA at INSEAD. I want to say I'll take an extra minute on that one. My parents were both professors in Technion. My mom was a professor, a statistics professor. And I remember back in 91, 92, she said there's a business school in France where all the smart people go, but you need to be really smart to go to that. So probably not for me. And then, I did computer science, and I was working as a developer, which was an okay job, but I wasn't good at it and didn't like it too much. And I thought I need to see the world. And then I remember that point. I thought, you know what, I'll try go and do my MBA. It was happening in the 90s, I think not as developed as it was maybe kind of 10, 15 years later. But I applied and I got in, and 1999 was just a fabulous year for me because I met some of my best friends, and I just came back from a weekend in France with two great couples that we're friends ever since. One from Holland, one from Germany. I learned so much. It opened my eyes to the world. I saw how little do I know about so many things. How I saw everything from that Israel point of view and how wrong that was. And of course, specifically in May '99, in the same week, my older daughter was born. My favorite Israeli soccer team took their only championship. Hapoel
Here's the
Haifa.
soccer team, right?
Yeah, Hapoel
You said
Haifa.
it has to come inside.
Yeah, I have to say something about that. So that was a peak of that year, but it really was a great year, and it changed my life. Not only I think it opened doors, and later it opened the opportunity for me. I went to Silicon Valley after that, worked for a startup company, got the opportunity to join a venture firm, Gemini, moved back to Israel, then went again to the U.S. But it really opened my eyes to the world, and I'm very grateful to that.
I think that although there are some points in time or stages that you can imagine where they will lead, or what kind of doors or windows they will open, one of the most important things is actually when you go to these kind of experiences like MBA abroad, or relocation, or taking a new position, or marry someone from another country, whatever it is again, as we spoke about, being curious about it, and to be present in the moment, and to really observe all the experiences, the feelings, the emotions, the professional things that happens to us all together. And sometimes it takes years to really understand the impact of the things that we've been through, or to see how all the dots connect, or to see the lessons that we took, that back then, like in 1999, okay, it was nice, we had an MBA, I met this and this and this, but remember you told me that you just came back from vacation with friends that you have for 25 years that you met back then. And then life evolves and things evolves, and sometimes we also make business together, and sometimes the children later on so gets together. So sometimes only in retrospective you get to understand the importance and the uh, uh, function that specific events had in your life. And it's really beautiful to see from that kind of perspective and to see how the dots connects.
I, yeah. You know, I remember when we were there. At some point, we had a conversation, and one of the, I think the women raised her hand and said, "I was told that this is going to be the best year of my life, and it's been 4 months already, and I don't think it's the best year of my life yet." Right? And I remember that you feel like, "Oh my God, am I having a great time? Am I not having a great time?" So sometimes you feel it in the moment. Sometimes you need the perspective over time to look back at it, and some things don't. Over time, actually, we think, that wasn't as great as we thought. One thing about that, I got into INSEAD and I worked for a startup company, and one of the investors said, "Your timing is wrong. You don't have enough business experience to go to business school. Wait 2-3 years. We'll give you a business role in the company, and then you should go." And I went home, and we will pay for the MBA. And I went home, and I became sick, literally sick. I had, 40 degrees fever. I was in bed for 3 days. And at the end, I decided that timing is everything, and it's good now for my wife. It's good where we are in life. Maybe who knows what will the opportunity will happen, and I'm going to say no to the offer and go to the MBA. Thank God I did. Also, 2 years later, we had a family event that wasn't great, and I think if that, of course, who knows what would have happened, but if that event would have happened and I wasn't, then I think I wouldn't have gone. So I think sometimes when opportunities arise, it's really critical to look at it and say, is timing right now? And if the timing works, go for it, because timing never reappears as the same way.
It's a beautiful story, and I want to reflect two more points out of it. We need to learn how to have patience for the process that we're in. Sometimes, when we're young, or even when we're older and more mature, this muscle that we want, to see the deliverables, we want to understand what's happening, we want to see the results. And sometimes to see the results, first of all, it takes time, the tangible result, it takes time. But also to see the emotional result, or the mental result that happened in a way. And I think that today, or in recent years, you see the results of the decision that you made 25 years ago to go to INSEAD. And it's like when someone goes to a psychological therapy, to a therapist, and like, you want to understand something, you want to have an insight, you want to already understand, okay, I'm paying, what is the outcome, right? And there are things of the emotional level, on emotional level, and on the emotional pace, which is not necessarily what we used, in the professional life. And we need to learn how to listen to this pace of ourselves from inside, and to have patience to see the results and the insights that will come. And to add to this, so the example that you shared, that someone else told you, listen, it's not your time now. You should go and get another job and work for 2-3 years, and only then to do it. And you got sick. And it's really how your body reflected to you that, listen, this is not, maybe it's right for him, maybe you really think it's a good advice, but that's not necessarily the right advice for you at this moment. And I think that at that moment of time, I'm not sure that that's where it began, but it also evolved, the learning of listening to yourself, and to strengthen this connection between, the mind and the soul and the body, and to lean on your instincts and on your guts feeling, because you said no. Okay, maybe he said this thing, and maybe it's true for him, but it's not necessarily true for me, and I need to see the opportunity, and I need to go for it. And we have many situations in life as founders and as investors that we simply don't know the answer. No one knows the answer, right? We don't know what the market will be tomorrow. We don't know if the technology we simply don't know. But and all we have is now, and this is like the main learnings that you have from mindfulness and from meditation, and really to be present in the moment, and to make the best possible decision that you make in this very moment, because these are all the information that you have at this point. And what I want to say in it, beyond the other things, is that we need to learn how to listen to ourselves. We will get so many advices from people who wants our benefit, and also from people that have other interests at heart. But at the end, whether if it's the right decision or the bad decision, we are the one to deal with it. We are the owners of the decision and the result, and we have to solve it this way or another. And that's why, if it's more attuned to who we are and what we see in the same moment, it will be easier for us to accept it.
Yeah. Uh, It reminds me when I was a Gemini. So I was made partner, right? Or at least I was given the opportunity to to lead my first investment. It was $750,000 in a startup by a known entrepreneur. Again, I won't name her or the company, but I remember I was sitting at home and I was like, "Oh man, should I do it or not? Should I do it or not?" And really, what I wanted the
Someone will
you'll
decide for
see
you.
the managing partner to call me and say, "Hey, Danny, it's a really good decision. Just go for it." And I was like, "Man, I want him to call. I want him to call." He never called. It's okay. We made the deal. By the way,
Did
was
someone call later on your life to tell you, Danny, it's a good decision, go for it?
no, but i- there are people that I trust and I love, and I think they really, not all people, there are people that I really think want the benefit, what's good for me. My wife always calls, and
You have a good wife.
um, I have an amazing wife and amazing daughters too. And she cares, but my partners I think care, and I think Avi, my partner, I know there are definitely situations where he was there for me, and so it's not 100%. You're alone. You're alone. I do agree that the decisions I make, the only person that will see the consequences is me. Do I remember that in every decision I make? Probably not. I wish I would, but that's a different discussion. But I want to say something about patience too. Can I say something about
Of
patience?
course, that's why you're here
Do you
for
know
it.
the yeah, exactly? Uh, uh, there's uh, I uh, I don't do meditation. I don't do any of that. I think part to be on the podcast, you need to say I do. I meditate every day. I don't. I
No,
don't
you don't
meditate at
have to,
all.
but I want to say that you look very calm. So
Oh, there you
I
go.
want to ask
So
you,
exactly.
what do you take?
What I take, yeah, just a few drugs. No, the so my thing is running. I love running. I've been running, and the thing is that I've been running on and off all my life, but I've been serious at it. I want to say 10 years, and it really is slowly builds, and then suddenly you look back and you're like, oh my
Wow.
god, I'm a 10-year runner. I can look back. That marathon did this. This half marathon was that. This suddenly you have, and it really took time to build that. You know, it's like whatever a star that is an immediate success after 10 years of hard work and hearing no, he's a
It's not immediate.
it's not immediate. So I think everything about life is patience,
Hmm.
and it takes time to build a career. It takes time to build, and by the way, that's in venture capital. The beautiful thing is every investment is patience because
Hmm.
usually we decide today on things that will uh, will only mature in God knows 8, 10,
If
even
at all.
15 years. Yeah, if they don't mature, that's a different story.
Yeah. And patience also goes, like, I think, in the most easiest way to describe with our children, right? We need a lot of patience to see their growth journey and what happens there and how it put us as parents and how we grow as parents in this journey. So patience is really there. I do want to add something to you said. I don't do meditations, and if I can offer
A little bit of
another way
meditation.
another
No.
way to look at it, because it's not like, oh, you don't do meditations, you cannot come to my podcast. Not at all. I believe that there's so many tools, and
Of
each
course.
one chooses what kind of tools to put in his or hers toolbox, and everyone choose what's right for him or her. Right now, meditation is not necessarily just a meditation. We can also look at it as a meditative situation, like how we describe it, not the act itself. And running 10
Oh,
kilometers,
absolutely.
20 kilometers, whatever, because I also have a runner at home that I can understand. I cannot understand why you like it so much, but I can respect it, okay? Because I hate it, only if it's on the beach. But going 2, 3, 4 times a week to run it at the park, the hills, and on the beach, and doing this repetitive job and improving yourself from time to time and learning how to breathe, sorry, in a better way, and learning how to strengthen your muscles and learning how to eat better and learning how to be focused on the run, etc., etc. So these are all kind of meditative activities that really helps you to bring the same results, and the journey, the path is, I mean, everyone can choose whatever makes him happy. There's no
I
one rule fits all.
Yeah. I have a dog for 2 years. In COVID, we took a dog. Of course, the girls wanted a dog. Turned out the dog is mine. So but my partners know that my real full-time job is the dog.
It's
Then after
dog.
that, I'm a venture capital. Then I have a family.
Well,
But
you wanted a boy. You only have girls, so now you have a
yeah,
dog.
exactly. So I have just one dog, and I walk the dog twice a day. And the thing about it is, I don't do it with podcasts. I don't do it with music. I just walk the dog
Hmm.
because it is a time where
You walk the dog.
you walk the dog,
And
right?
you're
And
being present in walking with the dog.
yeah,
There are so many things that you can watch
yeah,
and learn and
exactly.
see.
The dog, for example. I wonder about does the dog, does he feel the same way? It's like I walk, I do nothing. I don't listen to podcasts. I just walk with the owner. Who knows?
He's very present.
Yeah, he is.
But I want to continue, with this family line that you've just mentioned. And you have a wife and you have four daughters. And how being surrounded, I can say the other side of it. I'm just with the boys, but how being surrounded by really five amazing women. I'm sure that more than this, but at least I'm talking about wife and children, girls. Five amazing women in your life. How do you feel that it impacts your work as an investor,
Yeah. Uh,
if at all?
no, but by the way, there's an article a few years ago that I will send you that article
Okay.
that fathers to daughters are better investors than fathers to boys. There you go.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I need to read it.
Yeah.
And what
I got
about
tell Johnny
mothers?
Sachs I said that.
Hi, Johnny and Annette.
Exactly. No.
Oh, is there a hidden competition in here?
I
And what
love
about
Johnny very much.
what about mothers to boys and girls?
That's
Is
true.
there also
I think it was back.
statistics?
I think it was back when investors were only men, right? I think
So
we're
we need
changing that.
to
Yeah, that's a
create a
different.
new
Yeah,
research.
exactly. Now look, uh, it, I think that we are a very emotional house. I think that's a reality. My wife is a psychologist. I think talking about feelings is a big part of where we are. My older daughter is just finished first year social work in Tel Aviv, and so just how you feel, what you is I think is a very big part of who we are, and I think it helped me connect to the softer side of me, and I think that connecting to the softer side of you makes you a better investor. Also, made me definitely a better listener because oh my God, they talk fast and they're
You have to keep up the pace.
not only the pace, but it's they start from point A and then on the way to point B, they go through point C, D, E, F, G,
Yeah,
and
tell
then
me
back.
about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I think you also have a similar experience in here.
exactly. There you go. So I'm pretty.
But
I
you're
became a pretty
following.
good
You're
listener.
following. Yeah, it's not just being a listener. It's like not just being a listener. It's also like being very sharp, and alert to what's going on in the situation. But tell me, on another angle, how does it impact your willingness or the what your strategy also in Viola about investing in women
Oh, that's
founders?
a great question. So I want to say, here's the stat I said, which is I want to say it's good and it's something to be proud of, and then not. I think I've made 20 investments to date throughout history, throughout all my careers, about one a year, give or take. Out of that, I backed five um, female CEOs. So, or four or five. So it's 20 or 25%, which is, I think, above average. Um,
But still not enough.
I agree, but it is above average. And from a success perspective, unfortunately, that my overall female entrepreneur backing success has not been great. Now, one can argue maybe, and I've been thinking a lot about it. Maybe it's, um, I don't the way I judge female entrepreneurs not the same way as I think there's different things, but
Biases also.
but I we at Viola we keep funding great women. We still have women CEOs in our portfolio, and I'm a huge believer in women entrepreneurs for sure. Right?
What do you think as an investor and both the father to four girls? What do you think can be done differently in order to really help more women entrepreneurs to evolve and to be actually more women entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
What do you think can be done from an investor point of view?
Uh, so I think we still operate in a world where is defined by the way men behave. And I'll give you an example, which I use a lot, and I wonder what you think about it. Um, I think it's somewhat okay to have people shout in meetings, right? So to have someone bang the table and say, "I'm not accepting this. This is not right," which is, I think, is a very a men-like behavior is accepted. To cry in a meeting is unacceptable, right? But there are many women that cry. Women cry a lot more than men, and women cry in situations that talk about pressure or different situations, but that is supposedly unacceptable, right? And what I want to say by that is I think we need to understand that the way women present startups, the way they talk about startups, the way they do it in a different way. And we need to understand that language, judge it in a different way, and really educate, I think, investors on how the different startups behave when they're run by men and women. The best solution for it is to have female partners. Not enough. We just promoted our first female partner, Yael. She's amazing. I think we need to bring more. And I think when the world will be, the investor world will be 50-50, I think we'll see that also in the number of women entrepreneurs.
So I definitely agree with one of the conclusions that we need to see more women investors, and that what actually helps to see someone who understands in a better way the female founder, because simply they're from the same gender. Personally, I think it's okay to cry. I have no objection that people cry. It's not easy to deal with, and you need to be bigger than the situation in order to handle it. But it's definitely okay to cry as long as it's contained. Okay, after all, we need to run a business. And also, personally, I don't like shoutings. I mean, I think that you can definitely express your emotions, your objections, your whatever, without shouting. Because, to my opinion, also with raising my children, when you shout, it just shows your weakness and not your strength, because it means that you couldn't handle the situation in the right way, that you had to raise your voice in order to artificially be the stronger one. And I think that the strength comes from within. So this is just my opinion.
No, you're right. By the way, the flip side of saying on both these behaviors is, I think bringing your feelings to work is critical, right? We are frustrated, we are mad, we are not happy. I mean, there are a lot of situations, and so overall, you're right. None of these should be there; they just happen, right? And I'm just saying that what is more, at least common in meetings and what is not.
So to continue this line exactly, so I really liked it that you said bringing your feelings to work, and it's just, even though if I take it to a higher level, it's not bring your feelings to work, because we have feelings, right? We have emotion. We're human beings. This is one of the things that differentiates us from other animals.
My dog has feelings too.
For sure, especially when he walks in the morning with you. But the thing is that to bring ourselves, bringing ourselves sometimes means also to bring our feelings, emotions, knowledge, experiences, like to bring ourselves and to look at it less like, oh, I have to have this character when I'm at work, and I need to have this character when I'm at home, because I'm the same Gali and you are the same Danny. And I think that the more will be the same person, will decrease our need in, decrease the imposter syndrome that we have, will decrease our need to justify things, will decrease our need to try to be someone else, will decrease the fact that we're also always looking, sorry, at someone else and why he's better or she is better, and be more genuine with ourselves and just being us as we are, and always try to improve, both as investors, founders, and human beings in general.
Yeah. Gali, many things you say today are right, but are easier said than done, right? Because I've learned the hard way every time I try to be someone else, which why on earth would I want to do that? But I do that sometimes. Not great things happen. Every time I bring myself, the authentic self, I think I would say great things happen, but definitely better things happen, uh, for sure. So it's right. There's a TV show on Apple TV now. What's it called? God, when he has a split. What's the name? when he has he's complete disconnect between who he's at work and at home. It's kind of the sci-fi, really excellent, and I think it's exactly that point: is who we are at work and who we are at home. By the way, in the modern workplace today, um, I work all the time. That's all I do, but I also do a lot of other things, right? So. I was on vacation today. What did I do on the way to the vacation? I did emails all the way there. I did emails every morning. It just we were working on vacation and we're vacationing
Vacationing
at
on.
work.
Uh-huh.
It's just one big mix all the time, and that's why I think when you're yourself the whole time, it's probably easier to handle.
I truly agree, and I think that when you're being yourself or the closest that you can to your authentic selves, um, you make this gap smaller, and once this gap is smaller, then you have less things to that you need to bridge that gap, and you're more authentic, and you don't feel that split. You don't live that split of because this split takes a lot of energy to maintain.
Yeah.
And at the end, it's all question of how we manage our energy as investors, as founders, as parents, as people, and it's not endless, right? So we need to see how we pay attention to it. You just mentioned a beautiful book that you've read. You talked about Andy Down, right?
Yeah. So Andy Dunn was a founder of company called Bonobos, which Walmart acquired for 300 million, which is I think visible, one of the first direct to consumer deals, very visible acquisition. And he wrote a book recently about his mental health issues and what he had to deal with through that time. And I think again it brings to light a lot of the mental difficulties of founders, right? And that clearly a big topic today. And I want to say, and of course not. This I think is an extreme situation, but I do believe that as investors, one of our jobs in supporting our portfolio companies is to give emotional support. And when I say emotional support, um, I'm a huge believer is to be critical to your CEOs when great things are happening, and to be supportive to your CEOs when bad things are happening. Right. The worst thing you want to do is when the CEO calls and says, "Look, we just lost our biggest customer," and you respond by, "Oh no, oh shit, no, oh my God, what will happen now?" Right. What you need to say is, "Okay, that's okay. Let's see what happens now. What will prevail, will work." And exactly the opposite, right? We just landed 50 new customers. Okay, that's good news and bad news. Let's talk about the problems that are associated with that. And I think if we are kind of the averaging out the feelings of that ride for the entrepreneur, I think it's a big value add of investors. That can be.
I totally agree, and I always say that the entrepreneurial journey is we all say it's a roller coaster, and we have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and we cannot eliminate the highs or the lows. We just want to try to normalize it a little bit and shorten the amplitude between the highest of highs and the lowest of lows to manage all those things that happen in a bit more calm way. Wow, Danny, we spoke about so many things today, from founders dynamics and the investors' point of view, and how does it feel like, to have so many women at home, and then later on to invest in women, and the relationships between investors, and the differences between different, VCs. And it really was beautiful to see your point of view as an investor of more than 20 years, how you choose to bring this more moderate and balanced and psychological state of mind into the processes that you lead with your founders. So thank you for that. Is there anything else that you would like to share, or did you think that we need to emphasize before we hit a pause?
Um, no, I think. Oh, you know what? I will say one thing.
Okay.
I think last year we were all smart. Everybody was smart. The entrepreneurs were smart. The investors were smart. I think this year we're definitely not as smart. Actually, we feel sometimes kind of stupid. I just want to say, because I went through 2001, I went through 2008, so we know that what goes up goes down, and the good news is that what goes down will go up again. So I think I'm very optimistic about kind of the years ahead for us as a firm, and for the whole industry in general. So I want to end on an optimistic note.
Definitely. So founders that would like to approach Viola, where can they reach you or the other partners?
Yeah, so I think we have our emails on our website, and I think I'm always available to reach Daniel C at viola.vc. I will say, in general, I always think that it's better to contact VCs not directly, but through a mutual contact. We can talk about why that is true, but it's a good tip anyway. But if we don't know anybody in common, just send me a note and I'll be happy to respond.
You'll try to be nice. I'm sure you'll succeed.
I'll try. I'll try. Yeah.
Danny, I had a great time talking with you today. We spoke about it, and thank you so much for coming and
Thank you. I really
sharing
appreciate it.
all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things that you had. To our lovely listeners, we're going to hit pause until the next episode. That's also something I say to the entrepreneurs in my clinic in between sessions. If you enjoyed listening, I would really appreciate it if you share the podcast with people who you think would derive value from it. Thanks to the amazing studios at the Google campus that allow me to record all this important content in here. Feel free to visit my website at galiblochliran.com and leave there your details if you wish to be updated and learn more about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Also, be sure to follow my podcast, The Human Founder, in any of your podcast apps and make sure that it will rise at the top. So put a mark on it. Let's hit pause. Till next time. Thank you.